Well,
You're
that's
welcome.
a bit of the way things played out on Friday and how we ended the week last week. What's your forecast in terms of how we're expected to see this week start off?
Probably a little on the slow side. I think there's been, because last week ended quite flat. It started on negative note, then picked up a bit during the week, and then end up a little bit negatively again. I think we have to appreciate that Dangote Cement is like maybe 20–25% of the index. So therefore, any movement in that stock tends to affect the overall index. But we're also seeing a lot of people profit taking at the moment. We have to appreciate there's a Muslim holiday coming up. There's also the Christian holiday coming up in December. So I think it's going to be more or less the same, but fairly flat this week.
Do the markets and do traders just need to get used to the fact that we're seeing a market here where profit-taking and bargain hunting tendencies are set to dominate until any clarity emerges on the banking front in terms of who's going to recapitalize these banks in terms of possible suitors?
Absolutely. I think for most of the rest of this year, we're going to see profit-taking, people getting ready for holiday season, school fees at the start of the new year, and also you have to appreciate the fact that last week there were quite a few positive results from the banking sector, but didn't really have that much of an impact on the market per se. Although, but you know, in terms of profit taken, etc. So I think we're going to see more or less the same for the rest of this year.
There are currently two schools of thought out there. Buy on the rumors, sell on the facts. That has been, out there for the longest time. And then you've got another school saying shy away from speculative activity right now. How are you playing this market at this stage of the game with so much speculation out there?
There is a lot of speculation out there. I'll be careful right now. Two things: you don't know what is actually true or not true, whether it's M&A talk or results talk. You're not actually quite sure what's going on. Not actually also sure about the valuation regarding Ancon and the stocks on the exchange, etc. So I'll be very careful right now and wait on to the new year and see how things play out.
Just taking a look at some news flow that's come through this morning. A headline in the Guardian newspaper: Diamond Bank opts for international commercial banking. Of course, this follows the recent CBN directive through its circular on the review of the universal banking model over in Nigeria, where the board of Diamond Bank has approved the bank's plans to divest from its non-bank subsidiaries and focus on international commercial banking specifically. What are you making of that news, and how do you see the markets reacting?
Well, I think it's a good thing. I think you're going to see more of this kind of action amongst banks in Nigeria generally. I think there is a case of too many banks trying to do too many things, and in some cases doing things they didn't particularly understand, and therefore now you're going to see people focusing on whether it's retail banking, investment banking, or whatever, and even to the extent of whether it's regional, national, or international. So I think it's a good thing. I think you're going to give them more focus and hopefully have a lot more positive results further down the line.
Well, talking about more focus, let's put one of those distressed banks in the spotlight because it's standing out in terms of how it's planning to dig itself out of the hole it finds itself in at the moment, and that's Wema Bank. We know that it's raised funds and is scaling down to survive, and it's restructuring specifically into a regional bank in the country, which would require significantly lower capital reserve requirements than a national bank. Do you see this being a real and feasible solution for a player like Wema Bank?
I think it's a real and feasible solution for a player like Wema Bank and maybe 3 or 4 other banks that are having liquidity funding issues in the banking sector. That's what I like about the new policies. You can decide which one you want to do, whether it's regional, national, or international, and I think it's going to help firm up its own business, its own Wema Bank's direction as well, and help to make the bank generally a more solid bank for the medium to long-term future.
The bank did manage to raise 9 billion naira in a share placement in September and has since then won approval to raise a further 7.5 billion naira to ensure its survival. What's the anticipated uptake like there, given the first capital raising initiative and its success?
Uptake is a positive one. And I think, as I said earlier, you're going to see other banks taking the same, a few other banks taking the same kind of action. As I said earlier, there might be some activity on the M&A side, but all that is very much speculation at the moment. I think many people probably their preferred option is to survive by themselves on their own, and that's why I think many might take the regional banking, the bank option in the future.
Looking at the week ahead, you've highlighted that it is a short week. We're looking at a 3-day trading week over in Nigeria this week. Anything specific that you've got your eye on?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that.
Anything specific that you've got your eye on in what is a shortened trading week over in Nigeria this week?
Not really, to be honest. Just as I said, I think it's going to be fairly flat this week. We're not going to see too much activity. Basically the holidays, I mean, it's on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, so the holiday season's the mood is in the swing, shall we say?
Yeah.
And so you're going to see basically, I believe, a fairly flat week.